artist is unfiltered. She's spontaneous and she is dynamic. Recently, she got married, and that was a national surprise. It was so much a surprise that when she put up an Instagram post saying that, hey, I'm married, she got 600 text messages on her phone saying, what the F, and not congratulations. Please welcome Neha Dhupia.
Mandatory hug.
All right, are we ready for our next guest? Yes. That's how I like it. He's a hardcore, actually he's not hardcore. It's actually no secret that this man breathes romance. You know, he has the ability to make you fall in love over and over again. He is the rock star who clearly understands love from the times of Laila Majnu to the love Aajkal. Please welcome Imtiaz Ali.
Mandatory hug like we haven't.
Hi.
The next guest today. He is, in the real sense, a roadie who likes to be unconventional. But his love story is rather a classic one. Now, did you guys know about that? He met his wife at a friend's party, flames ignited between these two sober party lovers, and then began their love saga. Welcome, Ranvijay. Hello. See you. Can we move on to the last guest now? All right, so this man definitely needs no introduction, but I'll give you some hints, though I don't need to. But let me start by saying that he's a director, he's an actor, he's a producer, he's fashion police, he's the best spouter, and recently he also became a fortune cookie writer. He is industry's 3 AM friend, जिसके पास आकर होता है हर problem का the end. Please welcome India's most loved radio host, the winner of Indian Radio Forum Awards 2018, Karan Johar.
ये दिल है crazy, अरे कुछ होता है. ये दिल है मुश्किल, चुप के रोता है. Right swipe कर ले तू, baby कल हो ना हो. कभी खुशी कभी गम है, जब ये.
Okay, so you guys look lovely sitting right here, but excuse me for making you stand up again so that we can have a quick photo op for the media here. Oops.
Yeah, come.
Can we come a little closer? Fantastic.
Yes, sir.
Like 500 of the same.
Yeah.
We should do a calling thing. We should be like calling.
Oh yeah, calling?
We should be like,
Okay.
yeah?
We're calling you. Who you
Okay, I don't know.
You don't know. You can't do it. You can't do it. We're calling you.
I don't know. Come on.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Imtiaz sir.
Guys, we'll have more opportunity. Fantastic. He will. Yes, yes. Okay. All right. All right. Fantastic. Let's do that.
Solo जाओ, कर लो. Man, go forward.
Wow.
I would have felt otherwise.
You want your shoes?
Those are great shoes.
जूते खींचो.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. Time to now begin the love conference. And can I please have Malini Agarwal to take over the session?
Thank
I'll
you
be
so
off.
much. Thank you. You've been wonderful. I can't believe we're here on stage hosting a love conference, and I love it because they're two of my favorite things, radio and love. So I'm really excited to be here to talk to all of you, and hopefully you're going to tell me a few secrets, as Karan has probably got some out of you in the past as well. So this is season 2 coming up of Calling Karan, which is very exciting because I think you've pretty much now covered the gamut of things to do in life, right? Now this is like, radio is like the next level, and it's the theater of the mind, really. So tell us a little bit about what made you do it.
What made me do radio? I just feel like I should do everything. And I think I'm pretty available at most given points of time. Being accessible and affable is part of my personality. And I just felt like radio would have a tremendous reach. And I do it for free anyway, giving people love advice. When you're single for that long in your life, you tend to kind of meet troubled couples all the time. Husbands, wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, boyfriends and boyfriends, girlfriends and girlfriends. And I think that I invariably land up giving copious amounts of advice. So I thought, why not get paid for it?
I love that. Can we give him a round of applause for that? Now, it's one thing to make movies about love, right? And it's another thing to experience love. But giving someone advice is a great responsibility.
It is.
Right?
And in fact, we have a disclaimer right at the beginning that I'm not a professionally trained individual like a therapist or a psychiatrist or somebody. So my advice should be taken at just at that level, knowing that I may be just giving you advice on a personal level, and I'm not authorized to give you that advice. Having said that, when I give the advice, I don't pretend like I'm not authorized because I give very, very sincere advice, and I've broken a few relationships.
Oh no, really? But it was meant to be. But do you ever give advice that came from your movies? Like there was a moment, and do you ever reference them and say, "Is movie mein jaisa hua tha"?
No. What we show in the movies is ridiculous. Are you mad? You can't possibly ruin people's life by giving those kind of situations. Those are meant for like PVR, but not for people like when you give legit advice. You have to kind of really get into the center of the situation and then be very. And I take it very seriously. I take every call very seriously. I really get into it.
That's really important. And now we have a love conference, and today's love conference is an opportunity for everyone to actually get to know the people on the stage and really delve deep into their hearts. So Neha, I want to know, what is the worst piece of advice, of love advice that you were ever given? From Karan or otherwise?
From Karan.
No, in general.
No, Karan, I have to say that I remember calling Karan in season 1 and asking him this question that, Karan, I have audio. Check. Audio.
You gotta just put it up.
No, it's fine now, I think.
Can you hear me? Guys, can you hear me? Okay, great. So I remember calling him in season 1 and asking him that my question was that should I go with a hot guy or should I go with the intelligent guy? And Karan was like, what a stupid question, go with a hot guy.
Yeah, what are you going to...
And then what happened?
Listen, it's intelligent to go with the hot guy.
Okay. And soon after that, I think the only audio.
Very rarely Neha's not heard. Hand mic de do isko bhaiya.
No.
To pehle hi kaha tha handle.
Now can you hear me? Oh yeah, sorry.
Now Juhu can hear you.
And then when I was about to get married, the only person I think who knew apart from my parents was Karan. And I still remember I was like lying in his bedroom like that, like a lash, and I was like, Karan, what should I do? And he was like, just get married. What's the big deal? And I was like, can you simplify this for me? And he said the most beautiful thing. I know, he comes with this humor and all of that, but deep down, he's a hardcore romantic. As much as he doesn't like to admit it, he is. He likes the idea of it. And he said that, just treat this like the intermission of your life, like a movie is. And more often than not, the second half is usually better. And that was the best advice he's given me till date, or anybody has given me on love.
I believe, like you said, that you asked him whether you should go for someone who's intelligent or good looking. Now, recently, you got married. And I think Angad asked you, now, who am I, considering you gave her this advice? So what did you say?
You're going to be talking about my husband.
Well, I'll just say Angad is good looking. I mean,
And
it
we're
wasn't an
saying
either or, but he is good looking.
he is good looking. And there's a dot, dot, dot. The rest of it you can hear on the next
He
next
married
season.
Neha. I mean, do you think I should think he's intelligent?
Oh, I thought
along.
he's going to say that he doesn't have to worry about anything because the intelligence department is taken care of by me.
Exactly,
But
that's what I meant.
I didn't know that it was going to be such a big
because
insult.
isn't marriage all about balancing things? So you bring in the intelligence, he brings in the good looks.
No, that's fine. I mean, we'll give both to him.
I love that. Okay, now this is your opportunity before we get further deeper into the love conference to ask Karan for a piece of love advice.
From me?
Yes.
Imtiaz is a master of love. I mean, he's somebody who can give advice.
If you were to ask Karan something.
There are so many things. There are so many things I'd like to ask Karan about love. And some of them are so filmy and mushy that I'd rather just like in the middle
Go
of the
for
night
it. You
send
know
me-
this audience will love it.
What's the relationship? Karan, this is like a DNM, okay? What's the relationship between self-love and love for someone else?
Oh, what's the relationship between self-love and love for someone else?
Do you have to be in love with yourself or not in love with yourself to be a better lover? Let's put it that way.
Oh, that is deep, Imtiaz. I think that, to put it simply, I can only talk about myself, is that I'm not somebody who's full of self-love. In fact, I have a lot of self-doubt. I have a lot of apprehensions about myself. In fact, I have low self-esteem issues when it comes to me in a relationship. That's why I think I tend to give much more to a relationship and invariably land up in a one-sided one because I have too much to offer. I think people who are full of themselves, and not full of themselves would be a negative connotation, but who genuinely love themselves, and sometimes with good and bad reason, I think they are incapable of extreme love because somewhere love is a selfless emotion. You know, it cannot come with the baggage of your own self-love. Because then even when you love someone, you're so happy with yourself that you're loving someone that you carry that feeling into the relationship and it's all about you. And I think a true relationship has to be about us and you, not just me. You know, it has to be about like two people.
Awesome.
I love that. In fact, that's what I've heard as well. Like, love isn't what you feel about someone else, it's what they make you feel about yourself.
And there are two differences, like loving yourself and being obsessive about yourself, therein also is a difference, you know. You could like yourself, love yourself is fine, but if you're obsessively like all about you, like if you're like deeply a megalomaniac or obsessive about yourself, it's very difficult for you to contribute into a
Then you have to
relationship.
call Karan.
Then you have to call me. Yeah.
I want to ask him another question. He just said that in the relationship that, in the marriage of UNCUT and Neha, he's the good-looking one.
Right.
What are you saying about Neha then?
Well, there's a difference between good looking and super sexy, right? Like he's good
Look
looking
at that.
and she's super
What a
sexy.
save.
Yeah.
Well, Neha has immense amount of sex appeal. I think that she does. She's tremendously hot, and from the time that I first met her to the time now, her intelligence is also a turn on, but also I think her voice and her curves that are invariably covered by tapestry. But
I
she has
knew
them.
this wasn't going to end well.
But you're hot, Neha, and you have to know that.
Thank you,
You have
Karan.
to own it, which you do quite a lot.
I'm shaking right now because I know this is. Are you done?
I'm
This
done.
is turning into a
What?
whole other show, huh, by the way.
That was a real compliment. Please, just clap. Just clap.
Well, I always ask Neha, because she's so gorgeous and stunning, why she wears like bed sheets, always. Like, I want to know why she's always Bed Bath and Beyond.
She wants people to imagine stuff.
Yeah, I suppose.
Okay, we have to move on
I
to
like
Ranvijay
that.
now.
As I cover up a little more.
So Ranvijay, your Instagram is just adorable to follow. Now, everyone would think of Ranvijay as this really macho, just like out there, roughing it out, but his Instagram is filled with the most adorable pictures of him and his wife.
Yeah.
And even their story, I think you met where both of you
That's
were not
my
drinking.
wife posting for me, by the way.
She's got your pass. I believe you met when you were both at a party and neither of you were drinking, and that's how you connected.
Yep.
So how does someone like you, who's really like got all these girls running after him, find that one and have this beautifully cute relationship? Because that's what all girls are looking for.
I'm from Punjab. And we've been brainwashed since we were young that if a girl's from London, you say yes. She's actually somebody who didn't know what I did. So in your question, you had a part where you said girls running behind you. After about 10, 12 years of being, doing what I do, I didn't know the agenda of women. I didn't know why they liked me. Was it my humor? Was it my chivalry? What was it? Because I didn't even need to do anything at times. And it's true.
Modest.
And then there was a time when I met this girl who didn't know what I did and started liking me for that present between the two of us, right? And over a period of months, she liked me for who I was, and it was very refreshing. And for me, I didn't even want to get married at one point, and when I met her, it just flipped, and my mom was like, "मैं तेनू क्या सी? जदों कुड़ी आऊगी." You know, so that's that, man. And we connect on different levels, and we're also, like you said, I'm the adventurous guide. She's just the opposite. She would never step into a tent. She's the luxury kind. So we are showing each other different things in the world, and I think that's why we're so attracted. And it's like, opposites attract.
I love that, and I'm sure you've seen so many variations of love stories, especially when people call you, right? And it's amazing that you're going to actually have a second season. Everyone knows the show is bold. You're super honest with people, right? But what was like the one call on Ishq 104.8 where you were like, oh my God, I don't know what to do, like you were stunned?
There were a couple of really strange calls. There was one man who called me and said that he had a girlfriend who he broke up with because he found a really hot girlfriend.
This is your advice, basically.
No, so this is what he told me. Yeah. Maybe it was my advice. So he found someone really hot. And he said, यार सब कुछ ठीक जा रहा था, बहुत hot है, लेकिन वो मेरी girlfriend जो hot है, वो नहाती नहीं है.
Oh no.
So I was like, हाँ? He said, हाँ, वो बिल्कुल नहीं नहाती, और मैंने बहुत बार उसे deodorant दिया, shampoo दिया, साबुन दिया, बहुत सारे hint pass किए, लेकिन she doesn't have a bath. मैंने उसको टिप बरसा पानी भी Google पे या YouTube पे दिखाया कि नहाती हुई देखो कितनी खूबसूरत लगती है लड़की, लेकिन फिर भी उसके बावजूद she was not having a bath. So that he had a very big problem that she was just not bathing. And he said, तो मैं क्या करूं? I said, छोड़ दो. I said, what do you mean नहाती नहीं है? How can you be with someone who stinks on a daily basis? So he was like, हाँ मैं जब kiss करता हूं तो बदबू आती है और ये. So I was like, तो बिल्कुल छोड़ दो. I said, क्यों छोड़ दिया तुमने पहले girlfriend? He said, ये hot निकले से hot भूल जाओ. Hot का क्या फायदा अगर गंदी है? तो he said, okay. Then he was the only follow-up call I got at the end of the season when we did the finale. He called and said, Ade, thank you. I left them. I've gone back to my girlfriend. At least she has a bath, and I'm happy. So I was like, chalo, very good. So I was quite perplexed initially because you don't realize. And there was this daughter-in-law who called me. She just got married and she said, I've lied to my mother-in-law that I'm vegetarian. Because actually he said, मैं चुप-चुप के office में chicken खाती हूँ. So she said, but once from my dabba, the mother-in-law has found this haddi. Of the chicken. It was lying in the vegetarian dabba. So the mother-in-law's of course thrown this big fit. And she's saying, what do I do? So I said, what do you mean, what will you do? You either choose chicken or your husband. No, you must be loving one more than the other, and then you decide. She was really, so there are problems like this that you would imagine are really not very large problems, but to them, it's the end of their life. Like they were like, what do I do? Then of course there are the emotional ones and the ones that there was even a boy who rang me up, and it was quite, heartbreaking when he called me and said that, Arey, I've got married, but I'm not interested in my wife, I'm gay. So I said, then why did you get married? So he says, no, but now she's getting upset, I don't want to have sex with her. So I was like, obviously she's going to get upset. She's going to blame herself that you're not, she's probably feeling all kinds of, issues in her head. I said, you go and test it. नहीं, मैं मम्मी पापा को कैसे बोलूँ, उनका दिल टूट जाएगा. I said, what about your wife? So there are also those grave situations that you address and handle those emotionally. Some are whack job calls, but some are also really intense, serious situations.
It's amazing that people are genuinely calling, otherwise they'll always call with that one question, I'm in love with my
a lot of
best
people
friend's
ask me and
girlfriend.
say, oh, are these made up? I'm like, not at all. These are legit calls with people with real issues. And the fact that they're talking to you, you feel obliged to give them the right kind of advice.
Also, can I just, because it's radio, it's easier for people to just call you and be truthful. Because you're not watching them on television. That's the kind of things that happen on like TV shows and stuff like that. You can't really sometimes say the truth. So that's why that medium is so effective.
But it's hysterical. Like some of the calls are just like, there are thousands. We don't have that kind of time. But like I get shocked. Like every time I put my, like literally my headphones off and I'm like, I can't believe that these people have these issues. Like it's really crazy.
Has anyone ever called you back and said that, because you gave me this advice and I took it, and now everything has gotten sorted? Have you had a case like that?
No. A couple of them in the end called and thanked me for the advice. I go, while talking to me, they're all saying, oh, thank you, I never thought of that, and I feel very great about myself that I'm giving some
After applying it in their lives?
After, yeah, of course. You know,
But
you
has anyone also blamed you for the advice that you've given them?
Actually, that I think they don't allow that access to come to me. I'm sure there are many of those
Thank
as
God.
well. In fact,
Clearly, he's had a great track record, and that's why we're launching season 2. Yeah.
no, but I'm telling you, like there was this man who called me and he said, "Yaar, my mother doesn't leave me. She's always sitting on top of my head." And I just bitched the mother out. And I was like, you know, and then after 2 minutes, she said, "Arey, inse baat karo, mere maa mere सामने बैठी हुई है." And I'm like, why the hell are you calling me and asking me to give you advice about your mother who's clinging to you and whose mother sitting there? And she's saying, "Kaise laga mere bete ka problem?" I was like, "Kaise laga hoga mere bete ka
She
problem?"
must have told him.
Clearly, she hasn't left him even then.
I'm like, what kind of mad people are there in this world?
So Imtiaz, everyone knows your, the relationship you have with your audience of making these beautiful love stories and these characters that you create. Now, in this modern day, now you've got a Laila Majnu coming, the modern version. So what's going to be that story? What's different about this Laila Majnu?
About Laila Majnu, I guess you watch the film and then I'll ask you this question. But I think about young people, the most common mistake that all of us make is to think that they just want to have fun. I feel more and more that the younger generation, every coming younger generation is more and more interested in finding meaning. It's like, so many people reach out because they just want something to hold on to. What was fun for the previous generation is not what they're looking for in their relationships. That's what I feel. I think that's been a big revelation for me. And in Laila Majnu, of course, there is, the fact that a classic love story is eternal and it is relevant far more than, the short lives of people like you and me. So that's the aspect that I wanted to explore about Laila and Majnu, and I do not obviously cater to the view that प्यार पहले ज़माने में हुआ करता था, अब तो सिर्फ Tinder होता है.
Yeah. And that's the thing. So now we're in the age of love, love in the age of hashtags and love, and people are swiping right and they're doing all of that. So I'd love for each of you to give a piece of advice to this audience that is, probably stuck in this phone trying to find the love of their life, which we kind of come from a very different generation of finding love. So Ranvijay, would you like to begin?
Before I met my wife, there weren't these apps where you find people. Today, because we interact with a lot of young people on the shows that we do, for us to meet somebody, we had to have a conversation or work on a set or you need to meet people to know whether you like that person. Here, people are just looking at people and doing this. We're like on a website, like products. Oh, I like this. I don't understand it. For me, a relationship of any kind, friendship, love, anything has to happen like we're human beings. We're supposed to interact with each other. So I don't understand. And we're not away from that generation. We're in the same generation. It's just that, like he said, they think they just want to have fun. Right now what's happening is you're so busy in your life. You have so many events. There are so many cultural things happening in India. You have so many places where you can watch content that you don't think you actually need physical compatibility. You're busy with your video games, you're busy with your phone, there's social media. But when these things die down, the thrill and the frill of these things, you actually need a human being to share and discuss your emotions. You can't do it with the TV or the screen. And that for young people is difficult to understand. That is what people say, with age and experience and time you learn. If they could learn from what we're saying, it'd be great. Sooner the better. But I've seen a lot of kids just, I'm just having fun. And suddenly you're 35. And you're like, everybody's not as lucky as Neha and UNCUT. Well done. Really.
In fact, Neha, I'd love your perception of this and your experience of it, because like Ranvir is saying, you're kind of crossover, you've been on social media a lot, and you actually use social media to announce your relationship. But what is your advice now, looking back at the way people also reacted, and would you share it again, and what's your advice?
You mean share the fact that I got married? I'm sorry.
I think a combination, a piece of advice to everyone about love, and then this is interesting that people reacted to you this way with the 600 message.
No, I mean, I'm not saying that we're a different generation. Of course, we are the same generation. We're sort of 10 years too early. That's why we enjoyed the romance, and 10 years too late because we're not on those online dating apps. Now, the thing is that I've got nothing against it. People are using it, people are busy, their lives are their phones, and if everything is pocket content, why not dating? Now, here's the thing. If they don't have time and they want to put themselves out there, and if they want to meet new and interesting people, why not? The question is, will I be able to do it? I don't think so. I'm a lot more sort of old school, orthodox, and I feel like it somewhere takes the romance out of it. But then when I hear stories saying, I ask people, how'd you meet? And they were like, oh, we met on an online dating app. And I'm just like, that's great. So there's a different kind of romance, but I feel like, you know, it's like online shopping and then you want to touch and feel a product before buying it. I'm the touch and feel kind. So yeah, it's literally that for me, if you know what I mean.
A whole picture being created in everyone's minds now about UNCUT. What about you, Karan?
I'm just telling you about Karan's shopping. He's an online shopper.
Yeah. But for clothes.
For clothes. And shoes.
And shoes.
I mean, of course, on Calling Karan, you're giving everyone very specific advice for their problems, you know, but if there was a generic piece of advice for this swipe right generation, what would it be?
I mean, there's so much advice is very specific to a situation, but what I always say is that, you know, don't be worried about breaking your heart or a broken heart, because I think there's something very strong about, like, even a broken heart. It can empower you in so many ways, and I think we get so terrified of, like, being heartbroken or being hurt, and that sometimes you stay away from the possibility of a relationship. But I feel it's fine because, you know, it could, like I said earlier, it could completely empower you, and sometimes when something breaks, it solidifies you to a larger extent. And I think that I would tell anybody, like, just jump right into it. Yeah, it's fine. So what if you won't get reciprocated with the same amount of love? So what if sometimes the intensity doesn't match yours? But what you will go through, that feeling of love that you will feel, it will nurture you in many, many ways.
Yeah, no, and I absolutely agree with that. And you have to go through those experiences. Otherwise, you never learn how to love better until you have enough heartbreak. You'll never really improve who you
No,
are.
I think you haven't
Yeah.
lived. Like, I think, I think actors who haven't had broken hearts don't perform the way they should. I mean, you know, I feel like go out there, just if you're a good actor, you must have had a broken heart. It's not possible otherwise. For you to kind of depict a certain amount of emotion on celluloid, sometimes your eyes do depict your heart story. And, you know, I think many of them whose eyes speak volumes, they've been through that journey in life.
Absolutely, and you can see it, you can feel it when that happens.
Now you might get a call from a young budding actor saying, "Sir, मैं एक relationship में हूँ, कैसे तोड़ूं? मुझे दिल तोड़ना है, अच्छा actor बनना है."
But होना चाहिए, or I'm telling you it's happened, and I'm sure Imtiaz knows exactly, you know, what I'm sort of talking about. He's directed such amazing actors, and I think he's made such beautiful emotional narratives that you know that when an actor hasn't been through, just is touching the surface even in a scene, you know कि feeling नहीं है. Feeling नहीं क्योंकि कहाँ से आएगी? Feeling history से आती है.
And we also know that some people are actually, some actors are trying to go through that experience to
just
become
so that
better
to depict,
actors.
yeah. I think many of them actually do that purposely sometimes. I think they traumatize themselves only so that they can perform better.
And you know what I've always wanted to ask you? What happens next? You know, we always see the happy ending, and we get to that point, and then, you know, the end credits start rolling. But what happens next? What happens after Happily Ever After? And that's, I think, the piece
Kids.
missing. Kids. No, but so
That's it then, at the end of it.
if you were gonna tell the rest of that movie.
Yeah, for every movie it would be a different ever after. There's no ever after, I think. There's only just a changing scenario all the time. So I think for many movies I do have a thought that this is what would have happened, and none of them were actually better or so good rather than just putting the end where it was. So I am very happy that there was no time that you saw what happened in the relationship between Geet and Aditya, that is in Jab We Met. What happened in that relationship, and in Love Aajkal and so on and so forth. So it's never better than the end.
I think the great thing about being a filmmaker is that you can control the narrative to the way you like it. Like, I get asked so many times, like in Ae Dil Hai Mushkil, why did Anushka have cancer and why did she have to die? I'm like, she didn't love him, so in my way, I was like, kill her, you know, because it was in many ways it was a slice of my life, and I've been through that feeling. And sometimes you just wish that that person who doesn't give you love should die. So here I had the power of doing it. I killed her.
You know, I want to ask this question to everyone, if you don't mind. And usually I've had a slight conversation about this with
Neha's a question.
No, that's fine. No, like I've had a little bit of a conversation with Karan about this, and I feel he's very bohemian when it comes to this aspect of being in love. I'm going to start with you, Ran. What, as far as you're concerned, what according to you is the ultimate deal breaker in a relationship, and so on and so
Not
forth?
taking a bath for one, 100%. Not taking a bath, 100%. Great advice. Lying.
Lying.
You do anything, and if you know that I'm your guy, I'll be there. I'll get you out of the situation, or I'll try anything. But if you lie to me, then I'm not your guy. Simple.
My intention is not to spark off a debate, Karan, but would you be okay with that? Like if
Yeah,
you're, yeah?
I have no problem.
So what would be a deal breaker for you?
I mean, I don't I don't want to sound, when you said bohemian, I'm not bohemian. I'm just more of a realist. And I think that sometimes you lie in relationships. You lie about sometimes even sexual infidelity, sometimes I feel should not be considered infidelity, because sometimes you slip in a moment. It doesn't
I
mean,
want you to jump in. Ran,
doesn't
after
mean
this.
it doesn't mean that you should break off your relationship because one of you had a sexual moment with somebody else. It happens.
Okay, question, Karan. Karan, question
Don't-
for you. Why not? So sexual infidelity will not.
I'm saying it's not, it's situation specific. You have to go into why it happened, and if you own up to it and you chat about it, it doesn't mean you should end your relationship. Maybe it was something that you slipped and it happened in a moment, and it's fine. Things happens.
If it happens, don't lie about it. Let the other person decide what
Right.
has to be done.
Yeah, but
don't lie about it.
sometimes you have to lie also.
Would you be okay?
Not always. Sometimes you have to lie.
Here's the thing. If my wife lies about how many pounds she spent on a shoe because she doesn't want me to be upset with it,
Oh no,
That's okay.
that's clever.
that's
That's not a
smart.
lie.
That's actually smart. These, like my mom and everybody says, are white lies. It's okay. But if something like that happens, the first thing...
For example, let me give you a situation. She meets like an old friend.
Hey.
If she suppose she met an old friend.
Suppose someone
Suppose she
you're
met
with.
an old friend and they had a vibe and they just spoke, but nothing happened. And she had whatever. And you said, "What did you do tonight?" And she said, "Nothing. I stayed in." Now that is, she didn't do anything. So why should she lie and break your heart for no reason? Because
She
nothing
should
happened.
tell me she had a vibe. She
No,
should
but
tell me.
why are you
Let me-
becoming this
let me
Justice Chaudhary?
Because next time I won't send her there alone. No more vibing.
Arey nahi yaar. You also, even you are
I
allowed to
tell
lie
her.
once in a
I
while.
tell her.
No, I think
Thoda
so.
vibe.
But this Satyamev Jayate now that we can't combat now. This now we can.
Okay,
think
no,
it's
I'm gonna pass this on to Imtiaz. I'm gonna pass this to you. I'm gonna come to you, Malini, as well. So,
It would be nice if you come to Malini. She's meant to moderate this session.
oh, I'm sorry.
No, go for it. It's a good
Not
question.
you.
It's a good question. It's a good question.
No,
Go for it.
I'm
Yeah, you go ahead. Go ahead.
okay. Sorry. So, Imtiaz, lying, sexual infidelity, or is it something else?
I think the only deal breaker is the fact that you don't want to be with the person anymore.
Correct. I was just going to say that, falling out of love.
Yeah, if you fall out of love, then that's the only deal
That's
breaker.
the deal
Everything else, like whatever, floats the boat, I feel. Sometimes things that you think you will not pardon, you do, because you get to know the specifics of them. Sometimes you think that things are not important, but then when it happens, it becomes important. I think ultimately, if I were to ask myself honestly, if I want to be with a person, I'll be with her anyway.
And have you ever been in love with someone but still cheated on them?
No. I don't think it's possible, actually.
Right?
It's not. If you're in love...
I love Karan. You should have season
If you
12.
if you have that instinct, it has not happened. I mean, I would have liked my life to be richer in those aspects, but it's not very. So the few examples that I can think of, it hasn't happened to me, and I don't think it's possible. Maybe it is, and I'll tell Karan, help me. But
Arey nahi
not
hota
yet.
yaar. I'm telling you, you're a very role model type of people.
I think there's a mix of it, right?
Yes,
I think there's
Malini, please.
Honestly, I think there is a fine line about infidelity, but I think
You tell us,
respect,
Malini.
It's
Yes,
respect.
Malini, tell us.
What is
Yes,
your
Malini.
theory? We want to know.
Respect is the most important thing. Once the respect is gone, then it's over.
What?
You disrespect.
No, but you
I'm
respect so
married.
many.
Is that it?
There's no
Ask
respect.
Ran Vijay, there's no respect.
no
I
respect.
know.
No, sometimes.
Ask Priyanka,
I
there's
think
no
it's
respect.
I think in some layers also disrespect publicly, right? It might be that you have certain things that you've gone through. You've had a relationship which has gone through its ups and downs for reasons. But I think as soon as you start disrespecting the other person publicly, that means that you just don't care.
So is it okay to disrespect behind closed
No,
doors?
I think if you're able to have the conversation, I think that at some point, if you are not, like Karan is saying, if something happens and you're able to work through it, that's different. If you're just saying, well, deal with it, my way or the highway, that's different.
Karan?
I mean, I have all kinds of theories on relationships, and I think to sum this all up, that you'll
Okay,
find
well,
all
now-
kinds, you'll find all kinds of perspectives, and I respect everyone's opinion. I just feel